Alright, I am back with another Destiny 2 video, and I know I did a big TWAB read through, but it's a little hard to kind of analyze as you go. I try to, but you run into some limits doing that. I also did a follow-up article that was kind of 5 weapons to watch based on all the buffs and what appears to be the arrival of Solar 3.0, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But I kind of quickly realized that was probably not going to be enough, and I kind of wanted to do another run-through of the TWAB, not the whole TWAB, but just the kind of weapon changes section, the changes to the exotics, and then some of the changes to the archetypes in terms of what I think we need to be keeping an eye on for the season, what we should be experimenting with once the season hits. Obviously, we still don't know, the Element 3.0 things. I very much think it's solar, but we're going to operate under that assumption for the time being, and based on a few things that they mentioned in the TWAB that I've talked about before. I want to kind of run through, I figured this might be the best way to do it. I'm going in order here. Is there not even a Glaives category? Wait, no, this is ornaments. Good start. Okay. So Bungie starts with the kind of general Glaive buffs, which are they are buffing projectile speed. They're pretty much doubling it, and then even more than doubling it once they get to max range. And they are also buffing the base damage of the melee, and then they are making all kind of melee-based perks work with Glaives, like Karnsteins and things like that don't currently work, I don't think. But they're not changing things like Rampage or Frenzy to work. That said, with those buffs, I assume we're going to get a Glaive or 2 next season as well, because Bungie's not just going to drop off that archetype, and there's only 2 legendary Glaives in the game, only one of which is actually farmable. But they also specifically buffed the 3 exotic Glaives. Edge of Action is now allowing you to gain a Void Overshield while inside the little bubble it creates. That seems like that should have done that to begin with, and the Helm of Saint 14 now works in there, so you can blind enemies. Still don't think this is going to be great. It just seems like a more complicated version of a barricade, which I don't think is really worth using your exotic slot for, even with the changes. As you can see, I have the pattern for this. I just haven't forged it because it costs Ascendant Alloy and 2,000 things, and these Glaives suck, so I didn't want to spend the money. They are increasing the speed and acceleration of the healing turret. I have to believe that some part of Solar 3.0 is going to be maybe the Warlock getting its own kind of healing turret buddy, similar to the Void buddy we've seen, so there could be some sort of interaction with that, or something that, like, when you're healed, X happens, so this could be a little useful with Solar. That said, still a little questionable on this one. The third one, nope, that's Edge of Action again. The third one, the Hunter Edge of Concurrence, this is one I actually highlighted in my top 5 video, because with all the other changes, like, this isn't a utility Glaive, this is a damage Glaive. With all the other changes coming to Glaives, this is also getting a triple damage increase to the wave detonation of its special move, where you charge it and you it makes your next shot track targets across the ground and unleash Chain Lightning. The Chain Lightning also extends to 8 enemies now instead of 4. Triple damage plus all the other Glaive changes. Maybe this one could actually be pretty good. If for some off reason we are getting Arc 3.0 with Chain Lightning and stuff, that could be even more relevant. If we're not getting it this season, we're getting it next season, so that's definitely one to watch. This one just seems like one that maybe could actually benefit from the massive buffs it's getting, but we'll see. I'm not going to go through all the global changes with flinch and airborne stuff, but one thing was pointed out to me. Crimson has a 97 stability, is already a really good Crucible weapon because of its healing and just how it feels to fire in there. It's a very good weapon, and now it is going to have, with a couple other mods, it could have really, really ridiculous flinch reduction, so that is something to watch with the new flinch changes that we've seen. I'm not sure off the top of my head what other high, this high stability weapons there are, but that is something to keep an eye on as well. I'm going to skip over most airborne effectiveness thing because I don't really see too many things that jump out at me. A lot of stuff is going to be worse, and we can talk about how much worse Stompies are and things like that now. But Oh, one thing as I scroll here, one evidence for Solar 3.0 is that they talk about how airborne effectiveness would work if you are a hunter using submission, Icarus grip, stompies, and tempered metal. That gives you 12 airborne effectiveness because stompies reduce it by 50. But you will notice the tempered metal in there. Tempered metal is not something hunters can get in their solar subclass. So seems to me like that is becoming a universal aspect or fragment or something that was going to be opened up to hunters. Don't know why they would mention that in a TWAB a month away from the new season, unless that is yet another reason that Solar 3.0 is coming. And we are going to see that arrive. A lot of these other changes have to do with burn things, so I'm going to assume that things are going to get a little hot up in the sandbox. All right, I'm going to go down to some of the other buffs here. In terms of primary weapons, they are buffing auto rifles to just have better damage fall off. I don't think that's going to be enough to like make anything like super crazy there. Maybe in Crucible a little bit, but day to day, I don't know like if you're going to be seeing anything pretty wild there. There's some fun primary auto rifles you can use, but we will see if anything actually becomes meta. Huckleberry is getting a buff to have better zoom for better engagement, and then pulse rifles for lightweights are getting a buff to be more effective in the Crucible. Pretty much all submachine guns are getting this kind of grand rework of zoom, where some are going up and some are going down. Shuri's is going down. Multi-match is going way down because it's way too dominant, and they are trying to kind of shift the meta away from that and probably make a little more room for sidearms. So one of the biggest things here in the entire thing is the heavy weapon buff to machine guns. Machine guns are getting a 40% damage increase in PvE. This excludes, and also a 20% damage versus bosses. This excludes Xenophage and Grand Overture, but it does not exclude a lot of other ones. Namely, that leaves Thunderlord and Heir Apparent as two really, really interesting ones to keep an eye on. Heir Apparent, especially with the Catalyst, that can dish out some pretty big damage. And I don't believe champions register as bosses because things like, what's it called? Major spec work on them, not boss spec. So I believe the 40% damage is going to apply to champions. So things like Heir Apparent, Xenophage, these are going to be deleting champions and orange bars, and also dealing out some pretty decent boss damage. Heir Apparent with its shield as additional protection. The Catalyst gives it even a beefier shield. This is definitely, I think, one to watch. This is also a solar weapon, so is Xenophage. So if there's any kind of solar like subclass type matching things going on, you should definitely have an eye on those. Xenophage is also getting reverted to its old values, so it has the old RPM and old damage, and we all know that Xenophage used to be a pretty good diverse weapon for champions, for bosses, for everything, and that is going back to kind of the way it was. I am not like the biggest Grand Overture person. I think it's fine, but I don't know if these changes are going to make it like a better option than all of these. I would love if Thunderlord suddenly became viable, but in terms of actual other machine guns, I would highly... Do I have it on this character? I probably don't. No. Okay. I would highly recommend investing in Recurrent Impact. This is the seasonal machine gun from Keitel's collection, where it is craftable. You can get perks like Stats for All, 1 for All, or Subsistence 1 for All, or Headstone because it's stasis, and this also comes with the Intrinsic Lantang perk, which gives you resilience and damage resistance as you kill things in the stacks. And you can extend this, well, that seasonal mod's going away, but you can currently extend this through a mod. This, if you get this going, like feels like 21% Delirium. Maybe not quite that good, but it is really good. 1 for All being active with a few other things going, like this is a really good feeling machine gun in terms of mob clearing. Boss damage, maybe not, but we all know that we did love 21% Delirium for certain situations, and that is Sunset. So if you're looking for a replacement, I would definitely look at this one. In terms of rocket launchers, got to go back to exotics. Eyes of Tomorrow, which I do not have, as you can see, is getting buffed. That is getting a 30% damage increase against champions and bosses. And precision rocket launchers are getting a 10% damage nerf. I think, is Gallarhorn technically precision? I mean, it's inherent tracking, so this might apply to Gallarhorn. And then adaptive and aggressive rocket launchers are getting 10% damage boost, which mostly applies to the legendary ones. And then high impacts have no change. There's going to be a Fighting Lion buff. They keep messing around with Fighting Lion like every season. I don't know who cares this much about Fighting Lion, but someone really does. They're increasing the blast radius and the damage by a tiny amount, but I don't care about Fighting Lion. I never have. I used it to get Mountaintop, I think, or I don't know what. No, Salvage Salvo. That's what I was using it for. And so I did Eyes of Tomorrow. Back to power weapons. Easily, one of the biggest changes is coming to Leviathan's Breath. This is just a goofy buff here. The damage is being buffed by 50% across the board. They are changing the catalyst to... it already has Archer Step over the catalyst, but they're making that even faster to work with Leviathan's Breath. This also increases inventory size. I just pointed at my screen, like you can see where I'm pointing. The catalyst also increases inventory size, so you can stack more giant arrows. I've been playing Elden Ring, and now I'm thinking about the dudes who launch those like giant rocket-sized arrows at you. That's like what this reminds me of. In addition to all of that stuff, there's now a delay between the arrow hit and the detonation, which means for unstoppable champions, it will stun them and then blow up, doing even more damage than before. This thing seems like it's going to be able to like two-shot champions and then also be like a reasonable amount of boss DPS based on the damage buff and the draw time buff. On paper, it is supposed to be one of the highest output potentials in the game now, even more so than things like, Gallarhorn or high impact rockets or whatever. So I am very curious to see how this works in practice. They've tried to buff this before. They gave it a catalyst, but this really seems like it might be the moment for Leviathan's Breath now. So if you have that catalyst, start grinding out those crazy amount of kills that you need, and we'll see what happens there. Some interesting changes coming to Le Monarch, where the poison damage is being reduced against people in PvP by 25%, but it is being increased versus AI enemies by 50%. I've already thought this was very good in most PvP engagements, especially when it has like anti-overload or something, because the tick damage just keeps triggering champion stuns. But this is going to be even better in PvE now, which is fantastic. One of my favorite weapons ever. They also changed the poison damage from being classified as a burn to being classified as poison. I assume poison is more like Osteostriga and Thorn, and burn is like things that are going to trigger Solar 3.0 perks, and they do not want a void weapon triggering Solar 3.0 burn perks. Evidence yet again that Solar 3.0 is coming. Lorenz Driver nerf is just like, it does less body damage, so I don't really care about that. They put a whole lot of effort into, where is it? Skyburner's Oath. One of the largest reworks I've seen, definitely one of the largest reworks of the season. I've already done a full rework of this once. It didn't really do all that much. I used this in Season of the Chosen a good amount because of how many Cabal there were in the Battlegrounds, but alright, so they're changing ADS to hit scan, which is very unique. ADS and hipfire are going to both be 150 RPM now, so this is actually slower. The hipfire is now not like these auto-seeking rounds. It is kind of like a little grenade launcher thing that shoots burning grenades now, so if you hit enemies with that, it will burn them. This will trigger, again, Solar 3.0 burn perks, which is why I believe this change was made. Plus, it has the Skyburner Catalyst, which gives it bonus, range, and I think it's just range? I don't know. That's going to be intrinsic now, and then they're going to boost the reload speed for the Catalyst, which is low, and then it is going to, at default, have the highest airborne impact effectiveness of any weapon in the game at 35. So that is pretty significant. Briefly touching last word, mouse and keyboard recoil penalty reduced from 33 to 22%. A lot of complaints that it is still too good on console. See how that happens. Arbalest, one of the few nerfs here. Arbalest is getting hit with a nerf. It will break barriers in one hit, but its damage is being reduced by 25% against champions. Just champions. Guess this is just too dominant for them. People are complaining about this nerf. I don't think it'll be the end of the world, but it's a bummer. Graviton Lance, Destiny the Meme's favorite weapon, is getting a buff that I don't know if I fully understand. So the Catalyst is no longer giving it Hidden Hand, which is not even like a perk anymore. It is giving it both Vorpal and Turnabout. So the scenarios I see that being good in are, so that's like clearly anti-super. So in PvP, Vorpal works against people with supers. Turnabout works against Guardians with overshields in their super. So that's very synergistic there. Works against Hive Guardians because they have overshield, and I think they trigger Vorpal. And then potentially champions. I don't think Vorpal works on champions, I'm pretty sure. Or does it? I don't know. The whole like mini-boss clarification doesn't work really well. But if we get anti-barrier pulse rifles in a season, I believe breaking that would trigger Turnabout. So if you break a shield there, that would give you a shield. I think that's how that's going to work. They changed Grand Overture to now fire all the missiles if you hold down the thing. Apparently they changed it to just fire 5 at a time, which I didn't understand why they even did that in the first place. This thing is questionable. I got to work on the Catalyst and finish that out. I am at 76%, so I'm almost there, but I have kind of stopped using it for a while. Interesting changes coming to the Trace Rifle Club. Where's Cold Heart? Am I blind? Oh, that's the first one. Okay, so Cold Heart is getting the ability to generate ionic traces, which is the thing that Warlocks get from their Middle Tree Arc subclass that gives you more ability energy. I think it can also give you super energy, but this just says ability energy. And it has a better ramp-up time for its max damage. I saw some people using this as evidence of Arc 3.0 because they think like ionic traces are going to be an Arc 3.0 thing. They might be, but I still think there's more evidence for Solar, including Prometheus Lens. Prometheus Lens is getting a more useful burn to targets. I don't think Prometheus Lens currently qualifies as a burn. It's like burn adjacent, but like it is a damaging heat field that grows, which is not the same as a burn. So this is going to trigger burn, which will then trigger Solar 3.0 perks. I think one of my other ones to watch was Wave Splitter. These buffs sound kind of nuts. So the Power Longer no longer cycles, and the default damage is in the mid-range of what it used to be. Now, if you pick up orbs, and this can self-generate orbs because of the helmet mod changes, it now grants 10 and 20 seconds of power if you pick up multiple orbs, up from 5 and 10. And then if that's that's a long time to like find orbs. Like that's a good amount of time that'd be at max power. If you pick up an orb when this is active, you will also start suppressing targets. So that is crazy. And I think this is a really, really solid, like it's already kind of a solid Void 3.0 weapon, but mostly through volatile rounds, which is a mod that's going away. You can still trigger that with a worse version of it with the aspect fragment system, but this has a potential to be a really kind of significant Void 3.0 weapon with those changes, so I think we should definitely look at that. Lord of Wolves is getting a nerf. I don't know. I guess that's being annoying. And I think those are kind of the major changes. There's some like medium level changes that could be interesting that we don't fully know about yet. Like they are changing Desperado to no longer have it's really hard to find things, to no longer have a PvE damage penalty and reducing the fire rate a little bit so it can be applied to more weapons. They are bringing back Air Assault as a perk to give more airborne effectiveness when wounded. That is still going to be trash, mark my words. Mulligan, they are giving, on primary weapons, it is a 35% chance to return weapons, so it's kind of reverse subsistence. Still don't think that'll be good. Compulsive Reloader is getting better reload to plus 50, and something reload animation scaler. Don't think that's going to be good still. Adagio is getting nerfed on slug shotguns for Crucible reasons, and that is pretty much it. So a lot of stuff to keep an eye on, especially a lot of those exotics, and I think it is a very exciting time. What do I have here that is activating this. I always hate trying to find these things. Where is it? I'm going to find you. Oh, wait, it was duty bound. Oh, yeah, I finally got a duty bound. That's why. No adept yet. But, all right. So, a lot of interesting things coming. I'm very excited to try a lot of this stuff out. And this is my new empirical evidence that I've been trying after the buffs, which is very, very good. And we're all going to be switching to solar, I'm assuming, and trying out a lot of these new weapons. So I'm very curious to see how things go. Could be wrong about solar. I would be happy to play around with arc too. It just seems like there is a lot of evidence that solar is coming. So anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you guys later. Take care.